This is John Myjack with the spin on real estate. So this is John Myjack with the spin on CC&Rs. CC&Rs is shorthand for covenants, codes, and restrictions. These are deed restrictions that have been put on a property by the person who may have subdivided the property and then sold it to other people. Basically, these restrictions are put in place to create an atmosphere in a neighborhood. So you might, for example, want all the homes in the neighborhood to obey a certain color scheme. Or perhaps you'd like to prohibit people from, animal husbandry, keeping, say, lots of chickens or llamas in your neighborhood. Or you might decide that what you want to do as a developer is keep a certain size in the neighborhood. So you don't want people to build houses on lots that are less than 1 acre. All these things would be examples of deed restrictions in a neighborhood. Now, generally speaking, homeowners associations enforce these deed restrictions, but actually anyone who is in the neighborhood can enforce a deed restriction. So if you see, for example, that your neighbor across the street is parking junked out cars in the front yard, and that's against the CC&Rs in your neighborhood, you could actually bring a lawsuit against that neighbor, with one exception. And that exception is if it's common practice for pretty much everybody in your neighborhood to keep junked out cars in the front yard, you can't pick out one person and keep them from doing that. So in that way, you can see that you also might not be subject to some restrictions that you've agreed to obey if it turns out that the majority of people in the neighborhood are also breaking that particular covenant, code, or restriction. So that's a quick little spin on CC&Rs from John Myjack. And these things are complicated, so I advise you to get a realtor so you can take a look at these CC&Rs before you make your decision to buy a home. Thanks a lot.